For God so loved the world, help me, that he gave his only, that whosoever believed in him would not perish. How many of you know John 3:17? How many of you know it in the Message version? I'm just kidding. I think you're all so smart. How many can say it in Greek? Is there any commonality, John 3:16, and being a surgeon or a student in a master's program or a business owner or a mommy, a coach, an artist, running for county commissioner? Is there any commonality between that? That big idea that what life is all about, and being a mom, being an artist, being a surgeon, being a dentist, absolutely. Understanding that commonality will help you to realize that everything hangs in the balance based on people that I've described and other people that do other things besides preach and teach and sing the gospel. So much hangs in the balance by understanding what the commonality of that is. What did I want to do with my life when I was a kid? Now, I've told a few of you, and some of you know, I wanted to be a power forward for the Boston Celtics. And I also wanted to be a Hollywood star. I wanted to be so successful in Hollywood that I grew up in the 70s, I wanted to be on Battle of the Network Stars. Everybody, 70s crowd? I did. I wanted to be a music superstar. I also wanted to marry the most loving woman in the world who would think about me all the time, every single moment, that I was the greatest person that ever lived, and all that that woman would want to do is just love me. I aimed very high in my life. And at some points, I wanted to be all that at the same time. That didn't work out. Thankfully, I got intercepted by Jesus as a young, late teen. I had an awakening. I was too backward and full of so much insecurity that I would never step out and pursue any of those things that I described, or even any more realistic things that I didn't realize at the time God put inside of me. I was a closet everything and didn't have any confidence to step out and be any of those things. I'd be all those things in my room. I was a rock star in my room, Hollywood star in my room, in my backyard on the basketball court. Oh man, did I play for the Boston Celtics. That's how I lived my life. But at the same time as I became a late teenager, I had an awakening to realize that the whole world was fake. And I didn't just want to punch a time clock and have a job. I also had a spiritual hunger. I had a friend named George Harrison, and he described his experience with God. And when I heard the song, My Sweet Lord, chills came over me, and I wanted to know his sweet Lord. I didn't care if it was Hindu or Christian. I didn't really know a whole lot of difference between the two. When I was 8 years old in a Baptist church, God's Spirit touched my life. But by early adolescence, I got real lost because that church, and I'm not knocking that church, but that church didn't have a bridge. What I tell our staff and our board is, what we're about here is building bridges. Build a bridge, a nursery bridge, a toddler bridge, an adolescent bridge, a college career pursuer, Gen Now bridge, into Big Circle community. And I don't care what they look like on the bridge, right? For every Billy Graham kid in the move, most kids aren't going to be that. And I just say, Dustin, get him across the bridge. Shine Kids, for every kid in Shine Kids that at 4 years old sees signs and wonders and is caught up in the third heaven, there are other kids that fart sometimes, take other kids' cookies sometimes, punch some other kid in the mouth sometimes, and wipe boogers under the table that they're sitting at. That's fine. Just keep that high. Just keep the bridge. Get them across the bridge. The church I was in didn't have a bridge from Sunday school to adulthood for me. Wasn't their fault. I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying what my reality was, and I got real lost. I knew about Jesus and believed in him, but the only thing I really knew was John 3:16, and I believed John 3:16. And every night in my life, when I would go to bed at night because I was afraid of dying and going to hell, I would put my hand on my heart, and I would sing the song that they taught me in Sunday school class as a little kid. Into my heart, come into my heart, Lord Jesus. I hold the world record in the Guinness Book of World Records for the person that's asked Jesus in their heart the most. And that was growing up in an eternal security church. I was about as eternally secure inside of my heart as nobody. So John 3:16 was how to get to heaven and avoid hell verse for me. And I was looking for Jesus in all my crazy and all my real passions and dreams and fantasies that went round and round and round in my life. I really was looking for Jesus. I just didn't know it. And so is everybody else in the whole wide world. I was also a very broken kid. I pursued pleasures of all kinds. The bad boy kind and the good boy kind. And for a while, those pleasures, finding them, were fun. But then, because I had some kind of conscience, thank God, from my parents and a good family root, and from the church that I grew up that didn't have a bridge. They did have a bridge for the little kids, and I knew enough about Jesus in that bridge. I knew enough about God in that bridge that I was wholly miserable. And I had a conscience. Everybody say, thank God for a guilty conscience sometimes, huh? Right? And after the fun of seeking the pleasure wore off, guilt incurred and piled up, and my pleasures became bonds. Not good bonds, bondages. And weights upon my life, and they scared me because I knew I could not fix myself, and I was only 17 and a half years old. And then Jesus intercepted my life. How many of you are thankful that Jesus intercepted your life? And I had an experience one Sunday morning that felt like I was a thimble and I was standing under Niagara Falls and I got full of Jesus. I'm thankful for now, and I'll be thankful all eternity to come, that Jesus intercepted my life. And one of the reasons he intercepted my life, one of the ways and the pathways into my life, was that I had a God heritage in a church. But I want to talk to you about all the people that didn't and don't today. This message is called Discover Your What by Knowing His Why. I want to share with you a passage that I shared with Salt Leadership Wednesday night that touched my heart. And I want to let it touch yours. Jesus went through many towns and villages. He taught in their synagogues. It was a religious culture there. He preached the good news of the kingdom of God. He healed every disease and sickness. Whenever crowds came to him, he had compassion for them because they were so deeply distraught, malaised, and heartbroken. They seemed to him like lost sheep without a shepherd. Jesus, melt us. Melt us. Melt us. Question, what is Jesus seeing? He's seeing crowds, but he's seeing individuals in the crowds, and he's seeing the condition of every person. He is literally laser focused in on the condition of the multitudes of people, and everyone's an individual with a name. What is Jesus seeing? He sees in the descriptions, he sees people that are deeply distraught, malaise, their way of life, heartbroken people. He sees them as individuals. He doesn't just see a generic heartbroken crowd. He sees every heart broken. He sees them with no guidance, no backstory, nothing to pull from when they hit the wall and go, oh, I must return to my Father's house. They have not that reference point. What is he seeing? He's seeing the real need. What is he feeling? It tells us. It says he has compassion for them. Compassion. It means to be like inside somebody's skin. It means to like really get that person and not just see the leaves, but feel the root systems. And that's what moved him to say what he said to his apostles. Next verse. Jesus understood what an awesome task was before him. And so he said to his disciples, the harvest, he called that the harvest. He called that the harvest. There are preachers on TV that don't call that the harvest anymore. What they call the harvest is sowing money into their church and God will help you get a better house. They're on TV all the time. I won't name names, but just watch them and you'll see. There are Pentecostal charismatic circus clowns that have changed the meaning of harvest to be about money and financial gain instead of weeping broken over the distraught condition of humanity. And God's people love it so. But you're going to stand before Jesus, Jack, and give account for flipping the meaning of harvest. Get right with God. Jesus understood what an awesome task was before him. And he said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest to send more workers into his harvest field. Why is Jesus expressing what he sees to the disciples? Because the task is awesome. And he realizes he can't meet the needs of all those people who are coming to him by himself. But get this, they were coming to him. So didn't they have a better shot? But he was also realizing there are more that aren't coming to me than are coming to me. And it motivated him to say, the harvest you see is not the whole harvest. The people coming in are not just the whole harvest. There are more people that aren't coming to me. More people that don't know me. More people that don't feel anything about God. More people that don't have a backstory. More people that don't have a heritage. More people that don't have a godly conscience or a biblical background to even begin to feel guilty about or miserable over the condition of their life. And he had to share that. The multitudes of the people in the world are not and will not be coming to him. And he knows that in his own individuality, he can't go out after all them. He can't even meet the needs of those coming, let alone those who aren't. And so he asks them a question, a pleading. Pray to God to send workers to the fields. If it's just about your house and your breakthrough all the time, you're not praying to God about this. You don't even know it's there. The whole thing in life is for you to have another breakthrough, another spiritual high, another gig with God. That's not Jesus. That's the Jesus of church now. That's not Jesus. Ask the Lord to send workers. The reason he asked them to ask the Lord, because he knew that when they would ask the Lord about that, the Lord would move in their heart to have an awakening to realize, how can I ask God to send somebody else when I... Jesus had ways of catching people. They would become aware of their personal responsibility in this. Next slide. Jesus had a what and a why. Jesus had a what and a why. Every what of Jesus came from his why. Every why came from his what. Every what. Jesus did what? In this passage, it says he'd teach in the synagogues. He would preach the good message. He would heal the sick. They were his whats. And every what came from his why. He taught and he healed. Every why came from his what. Every time they would say, why do you do what you do? They were describing his whats. And they wanted to know why. Right? And every time he explained his why for his whats, he would have reference points of heart emotion. He would appeal to compassion and mercy and love. Why do you hang out with the people in Israel who throw the law out the window and you eat with them? Why do you spend time with people who throw the law out the window? And he explained to them his why for his what. Why do you heal on the Sabbath day? That was a what. He explained his why. Why are you going to go back to Jerusalem? Even the disciples asked that. The last time there, they tried to kill you. You just told us your what again. This what? I don't understand the why of it. Why are you going there when you know what they're going to do to you? What was his what? If you could break his what down in a few phrases, and he did, here's what we'd find out they were. He said, Jesus said, I have come to seek and save the lost. Lost people don't know they're lost. Some lost people know they're lost and don't know what to do about it. Some people know they're lost and they think they know what to do about it. Some people are lost and come find looking for Jesus in a place called church. Certain ones. Some people know they're lost and think they need Jesus, and they look for Jesus and listen for Jesus. And they get someone. You know when John Lennon wrote Oral Roberts in the mid-70s because he was searching for Jesus and asked him how he could meet Jesus legit? Google it. The letters online. Oral Roberts sent him back a pamphlet on financial sowing and reaping. Sorry to call out his name, but that's who it was. Hearts trained in greed. Oh, but he could heal people. Really? You know how many TV preachers do what they do because they're following Oral Roberts? There's circus tent Christianity, and there are people who will sacrifice everything for the harvest of souls. Don't you wish John Lennon might have written somebody else? What's your what? To give my life as a ransom for people. What's your what? To take away the sins of the world. That word in the Greek, take away, means to put on your shoulders the griefs, the stains, the scandals, the shame of everyone's thing and carry it off of them away. What's your what? That's what I've come to do. And to multiply my mission until the harvest ends. Jesus, what are your whats? There you are. Every person living, every person just born, little Peter, little Declan, all the way to those that are about to leave this world that will die in Western Maryland Hospital this afternoon. Jesus did what he did for this why. I'm going somewhere with this. Don't worry. Finding my what through feeling his why. Seek and save the lost. Give your life as a ransom for many. Multiply himself till the harvest ends. They were his whats. Why did he have those things as his whats? You tell me. You tell me. It's easy, right? Because every beat of his heart was for those people. He loved. God still so loves the world. You and I spend so much time trying to find our what. What am I supposed to do with my life, huh? They start asking you that way too soon. I remember taking those tests in 7th, 8th grade where you had to take your number 2 pencil and fill out those stinking little circles, right? And then they'd run it through the computer programmer and come back and tell you something about a little, sort of like who you were and what you were going to be or whatever. And I'm like, heck with that, I'm going to be a forward for the Boston Celtics. I'm a wanna Beatle. I don't have time for that. And you get into church, it's like, I'm one of them too, through much of my life. Many people I know, filled with Jesus, with not a clue. Not putting you down, not putting me down, huh? What do I do with my life? Where do I fit in? How do I get a part of this church? How do I get a part of any church? How do I make my life count? What am I good at? What am I not good at? What? The other thing that most people say in the church over and over and over and over again, been in the ministry for 32 years, and one of the phrases that mostly everybody says all the time is, I don't know. Do you ever notice that when people are talking in the middle of their conversation, no matter what they're saying, they say, I don't know, about 50,000 times? You know what that means? That means, let me tell you, a rocket science answer. They don't know. I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. I don't know either. Fake it till you make it. Well, how you know you make it? I don't know. Right? How many of you have asked God to show you his will for your life? Me, Guinness Book of World Records holder, me. If I could just know what God wants me to do. Let's get off that train and let me tell you something more important than that. I honestly believe that regardless of what our what is, I don't have time to unpack what are good whats and what are bad. It doesn't matter. Something more important to find out is his why. Because if his why is not the deepest part of our heart, it won't matter what our what is. His why. If I'm going to discover my what, it is so vitally important to melt into his why. More accurately, to have his why melt me. Spend our lives trying to find out our purpose, our abilities. Here's the next slide. Awaken to our what by feeling his why. Jesus stopped and looked out on those fields, and he basically shared his why and his heart with his followers. You ask somebody, all these are good things. Why do you do what you do? Mom, well, I want to raise my kids. Great idea. Raise my kids to be healthy kids, smart kids, right? Godly kids. Great answer. Great why for your what, being a mom. Great. As a matter of fact, I think more Christians need to have more kids. Just have a bunch of them. Kids, kids, kids. And we'll just outnumber the world. We might have to wait 25 years for the world to change, but we'll just raise up a bunch of Daniels and we'll get at it. Have a bunch of kids, just tons of them. And you know what? We can do it because there's a part of the world system, the National Organization of Miserable Women. They don't want to have any kids. They don't want to have any kids. You know, right? They're just going to wear the things on their head and go and yell at Trump and everybody and how miserable everything is, and we hate men club, the whole deal. So listen, if we just have a bunch of kids, we're going to beat them. Because they're not interested in that. There's a lot of National Organization of Miserable Women that are trying to get their manhood on. You know what? Good. We'll just keep raising kids. And Pharaoh will wake up one day and go, wait a second, how did this all happen? There's more of them than Daniel in the White House, Esther in the Congress. Huh? Come on. Come on. Wish I had time to preach this. Why are you a dentist? I want to help people have a better smile, healthy teeth. Great. If you do a good job at it, let me know. I'll be a customer. Why do you run your business? I want to provide a good product. I want to provide for my family. Excellent answer. Why do you do what you do? I want to make America great again. Why do you do what you do? I want to bring the national championship back to Tuscaloosa. Great. Me too. Me too. Why do you root for the Pirates? Because I'm an idiot. That's right. I'm stuck. Couldn't root for anybody else if I wanted to. I'm cursed. Why do you do what you do? That's why. I hate them. And then every stinking February, I get conned into thinking this is the year. Here we go. Why are you a teacher? I want to educate these kids so they'll be prepared to go out into the marketplace, equipped, strong character. Excellent. Great why. Great why. Really, really awesome, godly why. Or what? I'm sorry. And your why. But then there's other people. Why do you play? I want to be known as the greatest guitar player ever lived. Why are you work so hard? Because I don't ever want to be poor like my parents. I want to have the biggest church in Cumberland. I want to steal people from other churches and call it a move of God. When it's really just shifting sheep. We're good at that. Holy Spirit's telling everybody to do all kinds of crazy things in this area. Yeah, all kinds. Holy Spirit is so messed up in the tri-state area. I've never seen anything like it. He don't know what he's doing. I'm working like that. I'm doing this. I want to be rich because I don't want to have to ask anyone for anything. Why are you doing it? I want to be the best. There's all kinds of whats and all kinds of whys. And while we're on those pursuits, they are distraught, depressed, defeated, malaised, downcast, without guidance, without hope, and without God in this world, not knowing their right from their left. And he can't take it. And that's his why. My challenge and your challenge, ready, is to lay down my why for his. And I left this out, but I want to add this part because that's not what I really want to say. Lay down our why for his if our why isn't his. This isn't about everybody leaving their secular job and becoming a preacher, a youth pastor, a missionary, an evangelist, a worship leader. No. Please, we got a lot of preachers. We need more poets. We have a lot of informers. We need people in the world who are inspirers. This is about laying down our why for his if our why isn't his. What's his why? I love these people that don't have a shit. Right? And it's also about renewing our why and his why. Oh, I love my kids. I want to raise them to be godly and all this. Here's a deeper why. Here's a deeper why. I don't want my kid to be lost. I don't want my kid to fall off the bridge. And I also want my kid to think outside of church and to feel the lost condition of those who don't have his or her heritage. I need to renew my why and his why. That doesn't mean that you and I are supposed to change necessarily what our what is. unless our what didn't come from his why. I'm going to say something radical. You don't hear much anymore. There are people that Jesus Christ is still calling to lay everything, every plan, every goal, all of it at the altar and die to every dream, every goal, every plan, every passion, and give your whole life to the cause of Christ, which means leaving everyone behind, breaking up with that chick, breaking up with that cat, breaking off, laying it down, leaving the nets, and throwing your whole life into the purpose and call of God. Still to this day. Still to this day. And I'm a pastor, I'm going to come for you. I'm going to come for you. You can't, hey, this church is not going to stand before Jesus and not have somebody that says, I was doing this and God sat down on me and I walked away from it and I'm in Africa now because of, Or I'm on Wall Street now and I'm making money and I'm a good trader. But you know why I'm there? I want to finance the purpose of the gospel from sea to sea. Our whats and our whys have eternal consequences. And when they meld into his why, we'll have a better shot of really finding out our what. I know what it's like to look at your talent and ability and not know what to do with it. I know what it's like to struggle with the questions, what am I supposed to do with my life? I know what it's like to struggle with the question, who am I and what am I supposed to do? The bigger question is my why his why? The people all over this world are like sheep without a shepherd, and he doesn't have enough people melding into his why. You know what we need to do? We need to do what that old 80s song says. I need to stop my world and melt with him. His heart melts over this, and he wants mine to as well. Right now I'm going to mess you up. Last thing I want to say is we need to awaken to our what within his two focal points, and I don't have time to hit the second one. Let's go to the next slide if we can, please. Do we have another slide? We don't have it? All right. Get out the pen and write this down on your hand. I'm just kidding. Awaken to our what within his why. I just want you to think of one phrase, the sea of the lost. The sea of the lost. Jesus was tired and thirsty, and he walked all day. And he sat by a well, and it was noon. They went to get food in the city. He was thirsty and he was hungry, but he was also not thirsty because every minute of his life, his thirst was being quenched because of his why and his what. She came up the hill at a time when the women don't come up the hill to fill their pots with water. They do that in the early morning. The women that have their life together aren't scandalous and aren't talked about and looked down upon. She was weary of that, didn't want to be that anymore, so she came at the time where she knew no one would be there, the heat of the day. She's a Samaritan. And as she comes up near the well, she goes, oh God, there's a man up there and he's a Jew. I know what that means. I don't need this today. Jews think Samaritans are dogs, and men never talk to women alone, and Jewish men will never talk to a Samaritan dog woman. And she knows that. She pauses, but she needs to fill her water pot. There is no other time. And he sees her coming up over that hill, and now he's getting really thirsty. Not for the water in the well, although he's going to use that as a ploy to open up her heart. And she gets there. She's not expecting him to even look at her. He has nothing to reach into that well and draw water out. And it'd be like saying this. It'd be like if this Samaritan dog woman in that culture had a bottle of Aquafina. And Jesus says, "Can I have a drink out of your bottle?" That's disarming. How can you, being a Jew and me, a Samaritan woman, ask me for a drink? In other words, you mean you're going to drink after me and maybe not even wipe it off? He's going somewhere with this woman because, see, his why creates his what. And his what is at any price. And he breaks down the bondages and the barriers. By the time she gets to him, she sought to quench her thirst at 5 Guys, and actually she's on 6. And he reveals that there's a gift for her that she's been looking for and doesn't realize what it was. A gift that will revolutionize her soul, where shame and scandal will no longer dictate when she comes for water anymore. She never has to cover herself up or her reputation behind religious questions of where you're supposed to go to church. She will find his what and his why and melt into real meaning and never be the same again. She's everywhere today, and she's not coming to our church. A couple weeks ago, I don't know if you know this or not, but I had to do this face chemotherapy thing, 3 days, and it made me look like the Walking Dead. I didn't feel like sending a selfie out to prove it, but I did look like it and felt like it. I'm so glad that it healed up as fast as it manifested. But while I was in the throes of all that, spending a lot of time laying in my bed on the internet, looking up YouTube things about conspiracy theories of who really killed Kennedy, whether the Paul McCartney of today is fake Paul or real Paul, deep things, important things. Listening to stupid stuff and looking at stupid stuff. And I looked over on the side and it said Life Blog. And there was this picture of this girl. She looked like my daughter. My daughter's here today. She's just awesome. And so I just watched it. It was about 6 minutes long. Here's this girl. She's this young female millennial. And she's talking out there to everyone and no one. There was like about 3,000 views. And she's describing her heart pursuit. She's trying to make sense of it. You can tell she has no God concept. Or maybe she does and she hides it. Maybe the God concept is why she's doing what she's doing. She's describing how she wants to break through to real liberation in her life and find real fulfillment and break down the things, the guilt trips of whatever that make her feel bad about what she wants to pursue in her life. And I'm just watching this. I can't help it. And then she starts crying. I mean, she's just blogging this out for the world to see. I don't know if people are watching it. Nobody watching it. I'm watching it. And she starts describing the distance she has with her mom and dad. The depression that's flooding her soul. She actually said, I really battled deep depression. The girl rides around in a van all over the country. Just rides around in a van. Her age and her appearance reminded me of my daughter. And I don't know if it was because I wasn't feeling well, emotional, all that stuff together. But she broke my heart. I watched this girl. She's one of what? How many tens of millions just in our country? How many tens of millions? And the Lord ripped a layer of crust off my heart. That was 2 Sundays ago. I've prayed every day for that girl. She's just one person. But God used this moment to just rip the crust off my heart. And I've been praying every day, Jesus, please never let me grow that crust back. I came here last Sunday night while Brandon was at the move. I can't get this girl out of my head and my heart. I sit in my office and that verse that I shared with you about Jesus looking out, it came to me. And so I could just see her. She's that girl. It messed me up. I came in Monday morning and I thought, what am I going to do this week? Am I going to come into church and get into the machine of church and my stuff and all this stuff? And so I just blogged out my feelings and I shared it on Facebook. And here's what I wrote. All because the Lord ripped that crust off my heart. I wrote this: the lost son, the lost sheep. Most of them won't attend any church this coming weekend. Most of them won't watch Christian TV or listen to Christian radio. Most of them have absolutely no interest in anything I am planning, programming, or producing. And then I talked about seeing this girl on this YouTube blog. And then I just began to exclaim in desperation out for everybody to hear. I'll never find this girl. I'll never make a difference in her life. She'll never know me. And then I wrote, I don't want to hear a response from anyone, including me, that desensitizes me to her. I don't want to find a Bible verse that allows me to get off the hook. That says something about all things can work together for good. I don't want that. I don't want that crusty Bible verse to keep me from feeling messed up about the millions of people she represents who will never know what I know, never know who I know, never experience what I experience, never be embraced. And she's out there today in the sea with no compass, with no hope, and without God in this world. And then I wrote this: the harvest is plenteous, and I'm at church. The harvest is plenteous, and I'm at church.